You worked 30 years, you saved, you sacrificed vacations, and you said no to the things you wanted. And now you're sitting at the kitchen table looking at your retirement statement that says $1 million. And you're wondering, is this actually enough? I'm Brendan Vitale. I'm a CFP professional who helps families move to Costa Rica and build a life that they can afford and love. And on paper, $1 million should be freedom. But in practice, in the United States, it's increasingly becoming barely enough. So think of $1 million like an engine. An engine, if it's built right, will keep running. But even a good engine has its limits. And the question is, are you putting that engine on a highway or are you putting it on a dirt road through hilly landscapes with potholes that could completely ruin your car? So today, I'm going to show you what happens when you put that same engine on two very different roads, one in the United States and one in Costa Rica. And then I'm going to answer the 5 questions that come up the moment considering a move to Costa Rica stops being a daydream and starts becoming a real decision. If you're someone who thinks you're ready to move abroad, but aren't sure about the financials or logistics, I built a free readiness assessment. Links in the description, 5 minutes, honest questions, and you'll know how ready you are to actually move before you finish your coffee. So let's travel the road to retirement in the United States. $1 million invested responsibly produces roughly $35,000 to $45,000 a year in sustainable income. And let's just call it $40,000 with the 4% rule. Add Social Security, the average retired worker gets about $25,000 a year. So your engine is producing about $60,000 to $65,000 a year in total retirement income. And that's a solid engine. The question is what it has to climb. And in the United States, those hills have been getting steeper every single year. The median home price is north of $400,000. Even if you own your home outright, you're still carrying property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. And in many states, property taxes alone run $5,000 to $10,000 a year. Then you have homeowners insurance, and that's been climbing sharply. If you're renting, $1,500 to $2,500 a month in most metro areas, and that's for a 1-bedroom. That's $18,000 to $30,000 a year before you've even eaten a meal. And then we have healthcare. Medicare kicks in at 65, and Medicare isn't free. Part B premiums are about $200 a month in 2026. Most people add a supplemental plan. Then you have dental and vision. Those aren't covered. And Fidelity estimates the average retiree will spend $172,000 on healthcare over their remaining lifetime. To put that in perspective, that's more than most people's homes were worth a generation ago, except you're not living in it. Healthcare inflation is running at nearly 6%. Social Security cost of living adjustments, about 2.5%. So every single year, healthcare takes a bigger bite out of your Social Security. And there's a smaller slice left for everything else. And I talked to a couple recently, both in their 60s, $1 million saved, no pension. They ran the numbers for staying in the U.S. After housing, after healthcare, after property taxes and insurance, they had about $1,400 left for groceries, transportation, travel, and anything unexpected. $1,400. That's the margin between comfortable and anxious. They didn't do anything wrong. They saved well. They planned well. The math just got harder while they were doing everything right. And that's when this question hit them, the one that changes everything. What if we took that same engine and put it on a completely different road? Now, we're going to be driving the road to retirement in Costa Rica. Same engine, same $40,000 from the portfolio, same $25,000 from the Social Security. Nothing changes on the income side. What changed is the road. So let's look at housing. A comfortable 2-bedroom home in Costa Rica's Central Valley, where you have Grecia, Atenas, San Ramon, rents for $800 to $1,000 a month. That's $7,000 to $12,000 a year. And if you want to buy a solid home in a safe community, around $150,000 to $250,000. Property taxes, 0.25% of the declared value. A $200,000 home, that's $500 a year, not per quarter, per year. And then we look at healthcare. Costa Rica has a universal public healthcare system called Caja. And when you get residency, you enroll. The cost is income-based, typically $75 to a couple $100 a month. It covers doctor visits, surgeries, prescriptions, hospital stays. Is it fast? Not always. Wait times for non-urgent procedures are real, but most expats do a combination of Caja for major medical and private care for routine visits. And a private doctor's visit runs about $50. An MRI, about $300, not $2,000. Remember that $172,000 lifetime healthcare number? In Costa Rica, that number shrinks so dramatically that it stops being the thing that keeps you up at night. And that alone changes what retirement feels like. So what's your day-to-day look like? Well, groceries at the local feria, the farmer's market, run $20 to $30 for a week's worth of produce. We just bought $18 worth of fruit, and it's going to last us hopefully the entire week with our 2 kids, but we'll see. And a full meal at a local soda costs $6 to $8. Utilities for a modest home, about $100 to $150 a month, and that's on the high end, unless you're running AC every second of every day. So let me paint you a picture of what a Tuesday looks like. You wake up, no alarm, 6 a.m. The windows are open because it's 72 degrees out. The birds are singing. You walk to the feria and come back with avocados, mangoes, tomatoes, some fresh herbs for about $10. You have coffee on the patio, and the mountains are right there. You have a doctor's appointment later in the morning. It costs $50 and takes 15 minutes. No insurance paperwork. Then you meet your friends at lunch at the soda down the road. Casado with rice and beans, plantains, and chicken. $7. And you're home by 2. And you haven't even thought about your money once. So a couple living intentionally in the Central Valley can live well on $2,000 to $3,000 a month. That's $24,000 to $36,000 a year. On $65,000 worth of income, that's not really a tight margin. That's real breathing room that you have. You have money for travel, money for family, and money for the unexpected. Money for the life you actually spent 30 years working towards. And so that couple that I mentioned, the ones with $1,400 a month left over in the United States, they ran the same numbers for Costa Rica. After housing, healthcare, groceries, and transportation, they had over $3,000 a month in margin. That's the same engine, completely different road, and completely different life. And if those numbers are landing for you right now, I know exactly what your brain is doing. It's not saying yes, it's generating questions, and probably practical ones. Can I even collect Social Security there? What about taxes? Do I need a visa? Good. Those are the right questions to be asking. And they're the difference between a daydream and a real decision. So let me help you answer some of those questions. 1, can I collect Social Security if I live in Costa Rica? This is the first thing that everyone who's retiring asks. And it makes sense. If Social Security disappears when you leave, nothing else matters. And I had a client almost cancel her entire Costa Rica plan because somebody at a dinner party told her that she would lose her Social Security if she left the country. As a U.S. citizen, you receive your Social Security benefits anywhere in the world. Direct deposit, same account, nothing changes. So the income follows you. But what about the legal side? Can you actually stay? Well, number 2, do I need residency? Well, you can enter as a tourist for 180 days. And some people do border runs, leave, come back, repeat. But that's a workaround. It's not a foundation, and trust me, the locals don't like it. It doesn't give you access to Caja or real stability. Lots of people recommend it. I don't. Because for retirees, there are 3 real paths. You have the pensionado visa. Show at least $1,000 a month in a pension income. Social Security counts. So if you're getting $2,000 a month, you already qualify. Or you have the rentista visa, which is $2,500 a month in passive income. So think about your portfolio. Then you have your investor visa, $150,000 invested in the country, and this can be into a home. Processing takes about a year, sometimes 2. You have to budget between $2,000 and $5,000 for an immigration attorney, which I always recommend, so you can stay legally, and the income follows you. And so now the question everybody asks is, what happens to your taxes? So, number 3, what about taxes? Costa Rica uses a territorial tax system. Costa Rica only taxes money that's made inside of Costa Rica. Your Social Security, not taxed. Your pension, not taxed. Your investment withdrawals, not taxed. You still file U.S. taxes every year. That doesn't change, but you're not paying double. One financial question that keeps early retirees awake, and it's where Costa Rica has one of its biggest advantages. 4, what about the healthcare if I retire before 65? This is where Costa Rica becomes more interesting, not less. In the U.S., if you retire before 65, you're in the Medicare gap. Private insurance marketplace for a couple in their 60s can run $1,000 to $2,000 a month. That alone stops people from retiring when they want to. In Costa Rica, once you have residency, you enroll in Caja regardless of the age. The cost is income-based. And the healthcare gap is like a lock on the door for a lot of Americans who are early retirees. And in Costa Rica, that lock does not exist. So the money works. The taxes are favorable. Healthcare is covered. And right about now, a different kind of question shows up. Not one that's financial, but emotional. Number 5, what if it just doesn't work out? Well, this isn't a one-way door. You're an American citizen. You can come home at any point in time. Your Social Security stays. Bank accounts can stay as long as you have a legal address. Your portfolio can stay, again, as long as you have a legal address. You can rent before you buy. You can do a trial run. You can structure the move so that coming back is inconvenient but not catastrophic. So the risk of trying is far smaller than most people imagine. The much bigger risk, one that I see over and over, is spending 10 years of thinking about it and never finding out. I don't want you to leave with just the optimistic side, because there are real trade-offs, and the channels that skip them are doing a disservice. Bureaucracy is slow. Residency takes patience, and imported goods cost way more. You're farther from family, and the distance shows up in ways that you don't quite expect. You have a missed birthday for your grandchild, a health scare that you can't fly home for instantly. Infrastructure is solid here in the Central Valley, but it's less reliable in rural and coastal areas. Roads, internet, power, water even, all have some issues. You're building a new life in a new language, in a new culture. There will be a month where you feel lost, where the grocery store doesn't have what you want. You keep being asked for a Factura Electronica, and you don't really know what that is. Then you have a place where you can't explain something to a repair person, where you miss your neighborhood back home. That's real. And the people who pretend like it isn't are the ones who go home within a year or even 3. The families who do well here, they didn't come for cheap. They came for alignment. They looked at their income, their values, and they realized their money could work harder in a place where the life they actually wanted costs less to build. And that's a very different motivation than running away. And that's the one that actually works. Which brings me to what this comparison is really about. And it comes down to this. You got an engine, and it's a good engine. You built it for over 30 years. And in the United States, that engine can run, but the road is steep. Housing costs, healthcare costs, inflation, they're all working against you. The margin is thin, and it keeps getting thinner every single year. And in Costa Rica, that same engine runs on flatter ground. Well, not literally because Costa Rica is full of mountains, but you get the point. Not because life is cheap, and not because it's free, but because the hills or obstacles are lower. Housing is lower. Healthcare is lower. The daily cost of living is generally lower. And that means this engine doesn't have to work as hard to take you where you want to go. Same engine, different road, different outcomes, a better life. And the question isn't whether Costa Rica is cheaper. The question is whether the life you want to live costs less to build here than where you are now. And if that answer is yes, then you have to figure out whether you're willing to actually find out. And if you're in that space right now, running the numbers, weighing the trade-offs, wondering if this could actually work, I built that assessment that I talked about at the very beginning for exactly this moment. It's a simple set of questions about your finances, your logistics, your family alignment, and your timeline. 5 minutes, and at the end, you'll know exactly what you want to focus on next. And that link's in the description. And if this was useful, please subscribe. I talk about the structural side of moving abroad, the planning that determines whether this math works in real life and not just on paper. Because this is entirely possible. You just need the architecture behind the adventure.